Hey guys, welcome to today's video. I'm really excited about this one. So first of all, if you're new here, if it's your first time watching me, welcome. I'm Allie. I'm a seer and an oracle. I'm a mentor. And really all of the stuff that I do and who I be is really based in helping other people find their soul mission and live from that space. Create your whole life around your soul mission. That's my whole thing. So if you're new to me, that's who I am. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you're coming back to watch me again, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoy it too. So this week, I'm celebrating 5 years of being in my business full time. And really that's not right. It's like being in my soul mission full time, because having a business and living your soul mission are very different. They're two totally different things. And I'm celebrating leaving my corporate job 5 years ago as a means of doing that. And so today what I'm going to talk about are some of the things that either I wish I knew when I was leaving my job and when I was going through that process in deciding like, oh, I'm going to leave this great job that I have in order to have my own business and to live life on my terms. Things that I wish I knew back then. And also some things that I've learned through working with many, 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 many clients and helping them leave their jobs and create their own businesses and working through their soul mission. So that's what we're going to be doing today. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Please let me know what comes up for you watching this. I used to coach people specifically on leaving their jobs. So a lot of what I'm going to be sharing today are things that I used to coach clients on. So it's actually valuable. So you're welcome. Anyways. Okay. So the first thing that I want to start with is that concept that your soul mission is really different from your business. For me, there is no separation between work and play. My whole life is my mission. My whole life is my mission, whether I'm playing, whether I'm doing stuff on the computer, creating products, creating things, serving clients, it's all the same. And so I have a lot of other videos on my channel that I can put in some of the cards up here, or I'll tag them in the description. We've been so conditioned to think that we have a separate work life and a separate life. It's all just our life. And so it's so important that we enjoy what we're doing for 8 hours per day, or for some people, which is way more than that. We have to make sure that we're enjoying our time, because it's the idea that we have work time and lifetime is ridiculous. It's all just our life. And so how can we really be utilizing the time that we're here on earth to align with the purpose and the mission that our soul set out for us? So our soul, first of all, is just the I am presence. That's it. There's no more understanding that we can have of the soul. It's not something that the mind can comprehend. Period. End of story. However, I do feel that our soul, from living so many different lifetimes, some of you guys tens of thousands, or maybe even more than that, and some of you maybe you're newer souls, but we come into this earth plane. We're going real deep really quick. So if you're, I just want to caveat, we are going to get into the leaving the job stuff, but this is just my vibe. So if you don't like it, you can exit. So our soul mission, our soul chooses different things that it wants to learn in this lifetime. Our soul also carries different gifts and different forms of mastery through all of our other lifetimes. We each have unique gifts. And so when I say our soul mission, what that really means is how are we combining all of that together in a great purpose for our life? And I actually don't think that you can necessarily name your soul mission. There's not English words that would ever correlate to it. There's no perfect string of words like an elevator pitch that will give you your soul mission. I just don't believe that. And I read people's soul blueprints in the Akashic records, and I'm saying that. Your soul mission is a frequency. It's, when you are living your soul mission. And the first question that I would ask you, and you probably are going to say no to this because you're watching this video already, your job, would you do it for free? The thing that you're doing to receive money or to receive income, Would you do it for free? Your soul mission, yes, you would do it for free. If I had $1 trillion and I didn't need to, or less than that probably, if I didn't need to receive income, if I was just fully set financially, which we probably are universally, but anyways, I would do what I'm doing now for free. There's no question this is what I would be doing. When I was working in a corporate marketing position, I would never have done that for free. The only way I was there is because I needed to pay rent. So I think that this is one of actually the most important questions for humanity that we can be asking ourselves in terms of how we're spending our time. Would you do what you are doing for free? So how do we leave our job? Because you're watching this video, so you probably already decided, I don't want to be doing this and I want to do something else. The first thing that I want to say as sort of a cautionary warning, entrepreneurship right now is really trendy. When you look at it on social media, when you look at certain things, it depicts entrepreneurs as being like godly. It depicts entrepreneurs as being above everyone else. It depicts entrepreneurship as being like, yeah, there's hard work involved, but it's like so much better than having a corporate job, or it's so much better than having another type of job. And like, we need to just slash a big whole X through that. First of all, not everyone is equipped to be an entrepreneur, flat out. Being an entrepreneur takes a certain amount of determination, persistence, grit, resilience, definitely a certain sort of mindset. It requires so much that getting paid a paycheck does not require. You will have immense growth having your own business. There's no doubt about that. But I want to start out and say, and this isn't saying you, I'm just saying in general, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. And so what you really need to think about is, why is it that you want to leave your job? Why is it that perhaps you want to have your own business? If it's just to have uncapped money or to have time freedom, that might not last. That's a desire that's only about you, which is important. Our desires are holy. I really wanted to have time freedom. That was one of my big motivators to leave my job. However, when things get challenging down the line, you might be like, you know what, it would just be easier to get a paycheck and I can. So what you need to ask is, what is your major mission behind why you're doing this? And in the beginning, it might be because I want to have time freedom. I want to be able to go to my kids' soccer games without having to ask Brad for permission. What I want to be able to do this without having to ask permission. I want to be able to go on vacation as much as I want. I don't want to have to, for me, it was all about, I don't want to have to ask permission to live my life. I want to be able to do things the way I want to do them without asking anyone else permission. Right? So that was my first motivation. So that might be yours too. But eventually you also have to have something underlying it. And for me, I had this moment when I was in Bali. This is a whole nother story that I'm not going to get into right now. I had this whole moment in Bali where I had this moment with God, of where I heard God or goddess say to me, you're meant for something so much bigger than this. And it awakened this seed in me that was like, I can't really put words to it, but it was like, I'm supposed to be doing something important here, not from a space of ego, like, oh, I'm important, but like, I'm not supposed to be at this desk doing marketing that any robot could do or anyone could learn in 5 seconds. There's something that allows me to use all of my gifts, put them together, that would be of high service for me in terms of my desires, but also would be of high service to other people. I want to know that I'm making a difference in other people's lives and using my gifts that I was given. And I also really want to feel fulfilled. And so there was something underneath for me that I wasn't able to name for a really long time, but it was basically my soul fire starting to turn on, of like, there's something so much bigger than the world that you're aware of right now. And you're going to go find out, are you ready for this exploration? And so my whole soul mission, my whole desire to be in my own business full time and to not have to go to a job, not have to be employed by someone else, really truly was underlined by my spiritual awakening, and continues to be spiritual and soul growth. So first of all, I want you to ask yourself the question, what is my mission underlying this? Other than the sort of top level desires that I want to receive, which you're allowed to, they're holy, they're beautiful, they're great. What's underneath that? When things get hard, what is going to be the thing that carries you? And for me, honestly, there's been so many times in the past 5 years when I'm like, should I just go back? And then it's like, my soul is like, what are you thinking? That would be so horrible. Can you imagine sitting there for 8 hours a day in an office with shitty lighting and like, can you imagine how awful that would be? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Never mind. I can push through this challenge. So really asking yourself, what is the mission? Okay. The next thing that I want you to really think about this. Okay. So I'm going to start the second thing here. I have some different bullets here of the most important things, I think, around this topic. The second thing is, you'll hear a lot of people say, just burn all the ships, just quit your job and know that you'll be held by the universe. You leap, the universe has a parachute waiting underneath you. That's nice. That's like a nice dream. And I think that the universe always does support us. I'm a massive believer in that. However, I also believe that that's a really detrimental approach for 99% of people. I think some people have the personalities that they might approach a lot of things in their life like that, and that works for them. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, by the way. I'm just saying with clients, working with dozens and dozens and dozens of clients, helping them leave their job, what I've seen is a lot of people used to come to me after they had already left their job, and some of them had done it that way. And it didn't work for almost any of them. Most of them ended up going back to a job later. And what happens in that process is you're not preparing. First of all, you're not building the business skills that you need, because having a business is a completely different skill set than working at a job. At a job, someone tells you how to do your job. They tell you what they need from you. It's so much easier. And like, I say that, I remember sitting at my job, doing my work, and I was like, this is the worst thing on the planet. Like, is there anything like, this is so hard. Both things are hard. They're just hard in different ways. Because if you know you're meant to be doing something else, sitting at a job where you hate what you're doing, or where you're just, it's neutral and it's like, this has no use for anyone. Like, anyone could be doing this job. Why does it need to be me? It's hard in different ways. Having a business, though, you have to have a business mindset. You have to understand business. You have to understand demand, supply. You have to understand marketing. You have to understand sales. You have to understand a CEO mindset. You have to understand also how you interact with all of that as your own employee. You have to see how all of your quirkiness or your things come in when nobody's around you. So for example, I wake up here every day. Nobody's watching me. Nobody could be like, Allie, you should probably get to work now. No one's like, didn't you need to do this? Like, I have to manage myself and I have to manage my time. These are all massive skills that take time to learn. But initially, the biggest skill is, how do I get clients and how do I get paid? And depending on what industry you're in, because this is on YouTube, so everybody watching this will be maybe wanting to go into a different industry. You might need to start sharing content and sharing offers and things like that for a certain amount of time, for people to develop trust with you and for people to feel you as being credible and reliable. You might need some time in your business. So what I would say is, unless your guidance is really to just quit your job and burn the ships and hope for the best, I would say maybe don't do that. Set yourself up with a plan. And so that's what I'm going to go into next. This is what I help my clients with who come to me that are like, I really want to start a business. I want to be in my soul mission. And you can actually book. Just because I'm doing this video, I created a 60-minute session on my website. Usually you can only work with me in a coaching capacity in 3-month mentorships or longer, but I created one single session. It's a really great price where we can talk about this stuff together for an hour. So I'll put the link for that in the comments. But if you just jump and leave your job, here's the number one thing that people don't think about. How is my nervous system going to respond when I'm not getting consistent paychecks? What's that going to do to your nervous system if it's a Wednesday and you're like, well, I have to pay rent in 2 weeks and I don't have the money? What is your body going to do? You have to have such a level of abundance mindset firmly rooted in. You have to have such a level of faith and trust, but also the business savvy to understand, what do I need to do in order to create money? What can I do to open myself to receive money in surprising ways? And it's a balance. When you're coming from it from like my perspective, not all business owners have this perspective. I'm thinking about wealth full spectrum. So when I think about money, I also think about it full spectrum. It's how can I receive money? How can I be open to allowing money into my field? How can I call money in? How can I attract money? How can I create money? So I conveniently have my book right here because I talk about this in this book called Sacred Wealth, Activating Your Inner Abundance. It's a big workbook. So the book looks huge. It's bigger than my head, but it's a workbook. And so it's not like it's all text, that whole thing. But basically we go through the energetic side of abundance and also physical. We move from the root all the way up to the crown chakra. This is a really unique approach that I've never seen anybody do before. Anyways, you can go look at my book on Amazon if you're interested in it. But what I really wanted to say is that you have to align your nervous system to not fluctuate based on how much money you have or how much money is coming in or going. There's a whole like training thing that's occurring in your business with money in relation to when you start to receive more and more money. But in the beginning, when you're starting to allow money in and you're used to having a paycheck and then there's no paycheck, your money's coming in randomly. You might get a bunch of money one week and then not have money for the rest of the month. Or it's going to look different for every single business and based on the products and services you're offering. But you have to be really honest with yourself. Are you going to like survive that? Are you going to go into panic attack mode? Are you going to have anxiety that stops you from doing anything? And so when I left my job, I had already been studying and practicing and embodying abundance for years. And there was still an amount of fear when I was worried about when money wasn't there and I needed it to be there. Money always showed up because I have an abundance mindset and I know that the universe is constantly providing for me. But even when you know that, you can still go into anxiety and things like that. So that's why I say it's so much better to build your business and to match your income that you're making from your job so that you know you can be making that amount of money and you know how to before you get rid of that income source. While you're at your job, make the best of it. This is another thing that I used to work with all my clients on. Your time is your time. So if you're sitting at your desk hating your life, that's 8 hours per day of you sending out hateful energy in the universe, and you're just going to attract more of that. So how I used to ask myself, I had Post-its all over my desk with like symbols that meant different things so people wouldn't know what they meant, but just I would. So I had one symbol and it was like, I think I just put 5%. So when I would start to get grumpy, I would look at the 5% and I'd be like, okay, how can I make this 5% more fun? I hated doing marketing reports so much. That was my least favorite thing to do in my jobs, is doing marketing reports about advertising. I just wanted to die. And so I'd be like, how can I make this more fun? All right, I can use some different fonts. I can can do some fun color coding. Like I can make jokes and how I'm going to be sharing this with the client. Like, how can I make it more fun? Because this is still my time. So there's a lot more I could say about that, but I'm just going to leave that here for right now. Make sure you're using your time wisely in terms of what is the energy you're giving out. Okay, so the next things I'm going to share are more tangible, practical things. So I wish I would have done this a zillion years before I left my job. For me, it took me from the time I wanted to leave my job, it took me 2 years, but I really did it in a year. The first year I was kind of just like, fucking around. Like I wasn't really doing much. I was saying that I wanted to leave the job and I was starting to get myself into the idea that that was possible, but I wasn't really doing anything in my business. Then, well, I sort of was, but the next year is really when I was like, all right, I'm committed. I'm leaving in a year. So the first part of that, create a freedom fund, set up a separate bank account. I love Capital One 360. This might have changed in the last couple of years because I set this up like probably 6 or 7 years ago. Capital One 360, I love because you can set up like 10 different savings accounts. They all have different routing numbers, but you can label them. So I have different funds for different things. So it's like, okay, if I want to save money for traveling, I can put it in this fund. If I want to save money for Beyonce concerts, I can put it in this fund. If I want to save money for a trip to Scotland I want to take, I can put it in this fund. And you can clearly see what the money is for, rather than having to remember like, oh, okay, 500 is for this, 1,000 is for that, 4,000 is for that. That's money gets mixed up easily that way, right? So I recommend getting one of those accounts. And then with your employer, having it set up so that your direct deposit sends money into an account that you're going to label your freedom fund or something like that, or your soul mission fund, something like that, and put money into it with every single paycheck that you get. Put more than you want. Put an amount that makes you feel uncomfortable. This is also starting to train you that it's starting to train you with holding stability around money. So say that you put 30% of your paycheck into this fund, and then the amount of money you have left, like, just covers all your bills, but it doesn't cover one other thing. This will allow you to start to play with the energy of money so that, number one, you're putting money aside to show the universe, look, me living my soul mission and leaving this job as a part of that is important to me. It's so important that I'm going to put my money to it. This says so much to the universe. Energetically, this is a massive thing. So don't wait. It doesn't matter if you want to leave your job in 10 years or in 5 days. Start doing this, because energetically it's sending information to the universe. But if you're putting in an amount that takes you to your edge, this is what I would recommend. Then you can start playing with, how can I receive more money? How can I call in more money? How can I be more open to allowing money in my field? If you're like, I don't know how to do that, get this book. It's $20 and it's so valuable. Just get the book. Anyways, this is going to help train you to start learning how to work with the energy of money. And then worst case, if you really need it, you can take some out of the other fund, or maybe you can have 100, like you can have a little buffer fund that's in between or something. But trust me, when you leave your job, it's going to feel so comforting for you for the first year or however long it lasts. It's going to feel so comforting for you to have a chunk of money set aside that is there for you as you mess up, as you make mistakes, as you are learning how to run a business full time. Because like I said, I've been full time in my business for 5 years. I've had my business for 7 years. And there is so much learning. I'm like, I am an amateur. I'm still such a newbie. I'm still learning things about my business and my mindset and my beliefs about my business and how I can make money. New ones pop up every day. This is something you could do for 100 years and you're still learning. So set yourself up. If you're going to take this time anyways, start putting money aside. So also the second part of that, start thinking like a CEO and how you spend your money personally. So look at where you're spending money that's not giving you a return on investment. So, for example, investing in mentorship, that's going to come back to you because you're going to have skills that either personal skills or business skills that are going to support you in your life and that are going to pay you tenfold later on, maybe in money and maybe in other ways. Investing, like buying more expensive nail polish because you want the fancy brand, or buying a fancy purse because you want it to match your cute outfit on your trip to Miami. How would that money serve your soul mission or your business? It's not that I'm saying it's wrong to get those things. Also, everybody's financial situation is different. I'm a woman who's single, and so I don't have anybody else splitting the rent. I don't have a husband paying for my stuff. I don't have an inheritance that I'm working with. That's another thing with entrepreneurship. A lot of people, there's nothing wrong with this. I'm like, I cannot wait to be married and to have a husband that provides for me. And then all the money I make is just extra. I'm stoked for that. But one of the things that you don't understand sometimes when you're outside of the world of entrepreneurship, and then when you get into it or you start working with certain mentors and you see like, oh, they actually have a $5 million trust. They don't need any money. So of course it's going to feel different for them creating it. Or their husband actually makes $1 million a year and they don't need to pay for any bills whatsoever. Like that changes the narratives that people are working with in terms of their business. Like if I don't have money come into my business, I cannot pay my bills. There's a difference. And so you want to find, first of all, you want to find mentors that not necessarily mirror your situation, but that understand your situation. And sometimes you're just going to have to straight up ask them that. Um, that's one thing that I want to say. And just what I started this with as entrepreneurship being trendy, especially with social media, sometimes you miss that. That's not being said to you in marketing and other things. So start to think like a CEO when you're spending. What is going to bring you a return on investment? And maybe that fancy purse is a talking point for someone you meet that then becomes your client. Like, I don't know. So it's subjective for every single thing, but you have to think about, I used to ask myself the question, later on, would I be glad that I spent this money on this item or this thing, or would I wish that I had put it in that fund to save? And that's a good question to just start reflecting on. Also just becoming like really honest and in integrity with how you spend your money. So I never personally really understand this, but I know that a lot of people experience this, and I'm not like shaming you if you do. It's just one of the patterns that I don't have. I have plenty of my own patterns with money. And I talk about that in this book, actually, some of my patterns and some of the ones I see. Like if you have a bunch of open subscriptions, like if you have subscriptions to those boxes that come to your door with a bunch of makeup, or if you have subscriptions to TV channels that you're not watching, or if you have subscriptions online that you're not using, like cancel those. Get really clear and in integrity with your money. Money wants to be able to trust you. If money doesn't feel safe with you, you're probably not going to be able to hold it. You're probably not going to attract it in the same way, or there might be other nuanced things there. But for me, at least, money wants to be really safe and held in integrity. So check your money leaks. That's what I talk about in one of these chapters in the solar plexus chakra. Check your money leaks, because all that money going to Hulu or going to other subscriptions that you don't even watch, if you watch them, cool, whatever. But if you don't watch them, it's just money draining out of your account that could be going into your soul mission fund, which is much better. So that's the next thing I want to say. The fourth thing, this is one of the most important things, because people can say all day long that they want to leave their job, but it's only going to happen when you actually leave. So you have to pick a day that you're going to leave. Otherwise, you'll wait on the circumstances around you to match it, which they probably never will. If that's the approach you're taking, you'll get a flat tire and you're like, oh, well, when I, get one of my oh my God, I've heard this one so many times. You know what? In 8 months, I'm going to get this bonus. It's going to be a $5,000 bonus. And then 4 years later, I check in with that person and they're like, yeah, I'm still there. And I'm still miserable. Can you help me now? And it's like the circumstances, of course, you could consider practical things like that, but set a plan and stick to it. This is what helped me leave in a year and be really devoted, really committed, really disciplined the whole time. I think that a year is such a great amount of time, and you can pick your own date. I think a year is a perfect amount of time because it's long enough away that it doesn't feel like it's tomorrow. It feels like you have time to learn, to get the support you need in your business, to learn how to do sales, to mess up and then to come back and then to mess up again and then to come back, to keep getting better. But it's also not that long. Like a year isn't that long away, right? So it also gives you this feeling of like, I'm leaving this place. Like that was my favorite part for me, because I would come to my job and all of a sudden I got so much happier because I knew there was an end date. I knew that it was temporary. So I'm like, how can I make the best of this place? Even though I don't like my job where I was working, and it wasn't about this job particularly, it was about the fact that I wasn't doing my soul mission. Any job would have been the same, no matter how much money I was making. Once I had my leave date, I was like, this is awesome. I can really take advantage of all the perks that come here, that come with this job. That's another thing. What are the perks that this job offers you? So I started taking leadership training classes. I started taking classes that were offered that I never did before. So yeah, you need to choose your leave date. And you can write a letter. You can write your resignation letter now if you want, and you can read it like every day. Don't obviously give it to your boss quite yet, but you can read it and act as if it's real. So choosing your leave date, pick a time frame that feels good for you. This could be longer than a year. It could be shorter. It's completely up to you. So choose your leave date, like choose a literal day, like, okay, March 26th, 2024 is the day that I'm going to be leaving. And also, if you could choose a day that has some sort of significance, like the day that I chose was the last day that I was moving, and I literally moved to another city. I was like, I'm not going to want to drive an extra 30 minutes in LA to get to this job. So that was extra motivation for me. Some people do it on their birthday or on anniversaries of special days. Choose a day that has some sort of meaning to you. That just makes it like extra juicy and more likely that you're not going to change it. And commit to the date. Don't let yourself change it. The other thing you want to do here is envision how you want to feel when you leave. So you don't want to feel like if you're jumping the ship and or burning all the ships, whatever the phrase is, if you're just going to burn all the ships and leave your job, you might be excited at first, but then when you get home, you might be like, what did I just do? And you might have a little freak out. That's the last thing that I want you to experience. I want you to feel confident. I want you to feel assured that you've made the right choice. So you can visualize, how is it that I want to feel? You want to be able to trust that your business can pay for everything you need and more. You want to feel that your business has an uncapped income. You want to feel excited to be able to put so much more of your time now into it. You want to feel just excited that you did something powerful and bold. And you can visualize, like, what am I wearing? What am I going to do? Who am I going to call first? What are the things that are going to happen when I leave? And I remember my visual was almost exact, and it was even better. Like, one of my friends at my work, I remember, she's so sweet, B. She brought me chocolate covered strawberries, which are my favorite. She brought me Phil's coffee, which is my favorite coffee. And she brought me something else too that I think maybe roses or something. I can't remember. But it was so much better than I expected. And I was like, if I had just jumped and left this job, I never would have had any of these benefits that I received from learning more about the job. The other thing I did was I started talking with more people in the work, my coworkers, about their skills and learning some of their skills. So I asked them to teach me different things, to show me different things. All this stuff is so valuable for you and your business. Like, what are the things that you need to learn about in order to be a great salesperson, or to be a great creator, or to be a great content creator? There's so many skills applied with that. So you can also look around your office or your, however it's set up, and look around and say, like, who has skills that would be beneficial to me? How can maybe I can take them to lunch and talk to them about this, or ask them about certain programs, or ask them about, whatever. So yeah, that's another really, really, really powerful thing that you can do while you're creating the space to leave your job. The other question with that is, where do you want your business to be when you leave? How much money do you want to be bringing in on a regular basis? How many clients do you want to have had? How many products do you want to be selling? And it's not like, it might not match that when you leave, but you want to have an idea. So for example, if you need $5,000 a month and your business is only bringing in $500 a month, you're going to probably be nervous when you leave your job because you haven't yet figured out how to bring in more income. And like, yes, if you have more time to devote to the business, you can bring more money in, but also it's not necessarily that simple. So that's why I always say, like, I really want my clients to at least almost match their income, or go beyond, like, make the amount of money that they actually need on a monthly basis before they leave that income source, or replace it with something else that feels better. So there's that. So the last thing that is probably the most important of all of these tips is cultivating the right environment for yourself. So I always tell my clients, don't talk to anybody about this unless you know that they're going to be encouraging, unless it's someone that's already done the same thing and can help you, or just be supportive of you. Because even if the people in your life are really loving and supportive of you in general, it doesn't mean that they see the world in the same way. Someone might be the most amazing sibling or parent or friend or uncle or neighbor, but their limiting beliefs, you don't need them to be absorbed into you. So for me, it's interesting because I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My parents owned their own business. My sister has her own business. We all have a lot of business savvy and marketing skills and things like that. But my parents, I grew up hearing having your own business is so hard. Go work for a big company that will take care of you. It'll be so much easier, which it probably is easier. But not worth it to me because I have a bigger mission and that couldn't be fulfilled at a job. I do want to caveat this and say, a lot of people's missions will be carried out through their jobs. A lot. So it's not like you can only have your soul mission if you leave your job. Some people's missions are not going to be able to be fulfilled through a job. Some people's will. So I want to make that clear. So you want to only talk to people about this dream, this vision that are going to hold it with love. Before you talk to people who you know are going to have limiting beliefs about it. For example, a lot of the people close to me were like, well, it's so hard to have a business. Like, we really want you to stay in this job. It's such a great job. You have such great perks. And I'm like, right, but I cry in the bathroom every day. Like, there's that sort of outweighs the perks. So you want to wait until your conviction, your determination, your belief in this dream and this vision is so strong that it can easily withstand doubt. If you offer your vision to someone and you talk about it when you're not sure, when you're like, this might just be a pipe dream, they're one little piece of doubt that they might think is being helpful, that one piece of doubt is going to like obliterate your whole dream and shave off a lot of time where you're going to be like, you know what, it's not actually true. And then 6 months later, it comes back. So it's not that the vision will go away. For some people, they stifle it after that. But for a lot of people, it will continue coming back and reminding you like, hey, here's what you're meant to do. You want to protect it like a baby. And you also want to get around other people that are like, yeah, of course you can do that. No big deal. That's why a lot of people hire mentors. So I personally had a mentor for, I think, 3 years. I worked with a lot of different people for probably 5 years. I always had a coach. I always had a mentor, and I'm still always educating myself. I take little breaks between mentorship, but I'm always working with other people that have what I desire that can help me get there faster. And that's so important. I can't emphasize how important that is because number one, if you hire a mentor or even like you get into some sort of accountability group with people, that would be like minimum. But I would say hiring a mentor is like, honestly, from my heart, that's the most supportive thing to help you with this because it's going to keep you accountable at a higher level, especially because you pay your mentor money. So that money is your determination. That's your offering to this transformation. Because you pay money, it's like extra motivation for you to do it. But also then you have someone you're meeting with that's keeping you accountable to certain things and helping you along the way. But really the most important part is that someone sees your vision and they're like, that's it? Yeah, we can do that easy. Let's go. And when having someone there when your limiting beliefs come up, because believe it, that they will. This will always happen. Whenever we're growing, whenever we're expanding, the small self is like, wait, but what about this? And then we come back and you want to make sure that you're not that this doesn't have that much power because you also have a really expansive voice over here. So then you have two talking in your ear and it's like, which one feels better? Probably the expansive one. And then you can just love on the small self and then she or he starts to grow too. And then new limiting beliefs come in. So it's a constant process. And this is why it's so helpful to have mentors in general. Like everybody should have a mentor in whatever capacity that looks like. Your mentors might be books, but if you're doing something like this, leaving your job, starting your own business, I would recommend that you hire someone that has their own business, that has had a successful business, that their life looks something like you want yours to look like. Not exactly, or they have something that they can offer you that you might not have, or you want to grow in your embodiment. So for example, I would never hire someone who works 24/7 around the clock and has no life. That's not what I want. I don't want to be on a computer or working with 1,000 team members fixing issues all the time. I want a pretty simple life where I have a handful of clients and I have groups of people who come and work with me in group capacities and I have sessions, but I don't want a million client base. Maybe in terms of like people who read my book, that would be cool. But thinking about what is it that you actually desire in your life? How does your business fit in with that? And what's the type of mentor that can support you? So my first mentor, I was in a group program that I probably paid like $1,500 for, and it was like 20 people in there. And so actually that came a little later. First, I hired my first year-long client, my first year-long coach that I worked with for a year at a time. And there was a small group of people in a group that we were all doing that. We were all leaving our job. And then later I also added in another group that had like 20 people in it, I think, that was a group program around specific aspects of the business that I think it was around sales or something like that. And then later on, I joined a membership that was like $50 a month, and there was like 500 people in it. And I met so many awesome people, and the person offered content every month, and it was just, none of it was one-on-one. Since then, I've spent probably $100,000 at least on coaches, on mentorship. I spend so much of my time reading and studying, like a lot of time. And it's because I constantly want to be immersing myself in new worlds. I already know what these worlds that I grew up in, I know what those worlds look like. I don't want to live in a world where a 9 to 5 is the only opportunity for me to make an income, and it comes with so much limitation. Now, I say that also knowing that a lot of light workers are meant to be in a 9 to 5 position, and that whole structure is shifting and changing, where we probably are going to have a lot more freedom and flexibility in the future in those sorts of positions. But we have to know what we desire for ourselves. I don't want to ask anybody for permission for anything other than like, you know, a romantic partner being respectful and considerate. That's as far as it goes. I don't want to have to ask off for time. I want to set my schedule completely based on my energy, based on what I want to do during certain times of the month or certain times of the year, based on my creative cycles. I don't want to have to ask some boss, can I go to the Beyonce concert that's 4 hours away? I've been waiting my whole life to go. Will you please give me permission? Like, I would rather die. Knock on wood. Maybe not. So anyways, this is just a little bit of what I would share with you around the advice if you want to leave your job, if you want to start your own business, and if you really want it to be based in your soul mission. This is some of the preliminary stuff that I think it's really honestly a lot of the information you need. Then the support afterwards is holding you through the ups and downs of the expansion and of this new version of you being birthed. That's really what comes after this, because if it was just as easy as how do I leave my job? Well, you just quit and figure out how you're going to make money, right? So if you want extra support, I created, like I said, a session just for this. That's 60 minutes that we can talk about your fears. We can talk about your business. We can talk about the stuff coming up. I also have another session that's a 3-hour intensive session. We go into the Akashic Records, and it's also a business mentorship session. So these are like really different vibes. But the second option is in depth with me. Both of them are one-on-one, but the second option is in depth, and we're really going to go into the strategy of your business and your soul mission specifically. So you're going to leave with like a whole business plan and a whole structure of here's what I'm here to do. This is what my soul blueprint is. Here's how I can start to formulate it into a business or update or upgrade the business I already have. Here's some shifts I can make. Here's some things I can do to make it even more in alignment with me. So that's awesome. You can book that. I'll put both of those links in the comments below. But the first one is really for anyone who's just like, look, I just want an hour of your time, and I really want to talk to you about leaving the job and the things that are personally coming up for me. And then I also do mentorship. If you're like, I know I want to leave my job, I know that I want to have support long-term, you can go to my mentorship page and you can book a call with me, and we can talk about some of the different packages I have that are different lengths of time. And I have sessions that go from 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months at a variety of price points. So yeah. And then if you just want to upgrade your abundance mindset and you just enjoyed watching this free video, one, thank you for watching the video. Please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. That can be your energy exchange. But also you can get this book. It's $22 on Amazon, filled with so much wisdom. You can do it a million times because it's a workbook. It's really, really a great book. So I'm really proud of it. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please share in the comments a takeaway that you had, or something that you want to ask, if there's any questions you want to ask, or if there's any advice you would give, if you're already in this process, anything that's come up for you that you think would be helpful for other people, please put that in the comments too, because people do read the comments. So, and then of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll also tag some other videos that I've made here that I think will be relevant in the description if you want to check any of those out. All right. Thank you guys. To our soul missions, to us, all of us, let's just visualize for a minute, to all humans living from their soul blueprint. What would that look like? What sort of world would that look like? How would things be different? Let's just like ponder on that individually for a while, okay? All right. Bye, you guys. Thanks for watching.